Well, hello, everybody, and welcome back. Welcome to episode 44 of the Unstoppable Entertainment Show, the most comprehensive entertainment news show on the internet. I am, of course, Nate Schaffner, otherwise known as the Unstoppable Nate. I do apologize profusely for the delay in this episode. I have been very busy with work, and then life decided to throw me and my wife a giant curveball. Uh, and so we're but we're okay. We're working through it. Uh, there's a great line from Norm from Cheers. You know, in one of the episodes, one of the characters asks Norm, "How's life treating you, Norm?" And Norm says, "It found me in bed with its wife." And that's kind of what happened. But we're working through it. Everything's fine. It's just sometimes life happens in a big way. But I do apologize for the delay in this episode. I know it's been a couple of weeks, so I do apologize for that. Um, but there is plenty to talk about. I'm going to try to do one or two shows today to get everybody uh, kind of. I have show notes that I want to go over to get everybody kind of, sort of caught up, somewhat. But anyway, so I hope you enjoy the show today. Um, so before I get started, I just wanted to remind everybody that if you like this show, if you like the content of this show, go ahead and hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, spread the word, tell your friends. Also, if you, sorry, I had a brain fart. If you have a comment, a question, or if you'd like me to talk about certain movies or franchises, you can email me anytime at the address listed in the description of this video. So, with all that out of the way, let's get started with this. So, you know, I would say that one of the biggest, I wouldn't say cultural, but movie phenomenons of the past couple of years has been Wicked. And I myself, my knowledge of Wicked is limited to the movies. I never read any of the books or anything like that. You know, it just wasn't my thing. Um, I love the Wizard of Oz, and I love it dearly, and I even I Return to Oz is pretty dark, but I like that movie as well. But in terms of Wicked, I'm just not that fan fiction stuff. I'm not the target audience for that. However, last year on my wife's birthday, so every year my wife Katie and I, we do a birthday movie for her, and she wanted to go see Wicked. And being the good husband that I am, I joined her. We went to go see Wicked together, part one, and I loved it. I loved it, and this is coming from someone who had no knowledge of anything Wicked related at all. I loved it. It almost so every year I make a list of my top 5 movies of the year, and Wicked Part One almost made that list. It came pretty close. So it was with great anticipation, not just on my part, but I think for everybody's part, uh, with that Wicked when Wicked Part Two came out. That we were all greatly anticipating Wicked for Good, and the reviews, the word of mouth wasn't that great. Um, and so that kind of tempered my expectations a little bit. Um, and I have to be honest, it was fine. It was fine. You know, I didn't hate it. I didn't love it like I did with part one, but I didn't hate it. There were aspects and sequences that I enjoyed, but overall, as a movie, it just didn't resonate um, with me as much as part one did. And quite frankly, I've heard that from a lot of people. My wife and our friend Emily were out to dinner after the movie, and our friend Emily was saying that basically I'm trying to think of how exactly she said it. So there are there are things about the Wicked musical, the play, that I think a lot of people, and this is all coming from Emily. I'm reiterating what she said. So Emily said something to the effect of, like, there are things in the musical, in the play, that um, I think a lot of people were like, when it was announced that there was going to be a Wicked movie. A lot of people, I think, were like, um, oh, they'll be able to fix and or adapt uh, pacing issues and things like that with part two. You know, because I think part one is the more popular of the two. But Emily was basically saying, you know, I think a lot of people were like, oh, they're doing a movie. They'll be able to improve upon certain things in, excuse me, in part two. And they didn't. You know, Emily was saying that they followed part two of the musical uh, exactly. And I think that's why a lot of people were turned off by it. Not necessarily turned off, but they didn't enjoy it as much as part one. Now, I will say the performances were still great. It's just, as a movie, it didn't resonate with me as much. And again, I think that um, I think a lot of people would agree about that. But even though I didn't enjoy Wicked for Good nearly as much as part one, I did come away from that. Look, I understand that there are more books in the Wicked universe. Um, Again, I'm not the target audience for that. Um, but so they could obviously do more movies, and I, even though I didn't nearly enjoy Wicked for Good as much as part one, I did come away from Wicked for Good. I walked out of that theater after the movie and I was like, you know, I would like to see more. I would like to see more. And it looks like we might be getting that, be getting more Wicked. Uh, be getting we It looks like we might be getting more from the world of Wicked. This article is on Variety, published by Zach Sharf. um, and this article says, after Wicked for Good's record-breaking start at the box office, Universal Pictures is ready for more stories set in the land of Oz. Michael Moses, the studio's chief marketing officer, told Vulture that things are underway to continue the Wicked franchise on screen. Whether that means a new movie or a television series remains to be seen, but Universal is clearly interested in expanding the world of Wicked and keeping the franchise very much alive. So, this, again, you know, I did come away from Wicked for Good wanting wanting more, and it makes sense. I mean, if even I think the whole Galinda and Elphaba story, that's done. That's um, but I would like to see more. I'll give you a good example. So and this is, the movie's been out for a little bit, but I guess I'll give a spoiler alert. One of the things that I loved about Wicked for Good was the costume design and the character of the Tin Man in Wicked for Good. And I came away from when Wicked for Good was over, I was like, I want to see a movie about that Tin Man, because that would be awesome. And I think there's a lot of stories you could tell. You know, uh, I think you could do a Fiero and Elphaba thing. You could, you know, maybe you could do a movie, because in my mind, and I think it's confirmed, that Galinda doesn't really know the fate of Elphaba. You know, so maybe they could do a movie where she actually finds out and be like, "Oh my god," you know. Um, but yeah, I think this makes sense, and certainly, given the success of these films, I'd like to see more movies. I don't know if a television. I think I don't know if a television series could work. I mean, I guess if you could do like a television series on. Oh, who's the? Well, she has a different name in the movie, but the Wicked Witch of the East in Wicked for Good. I'd like to see a story about her rise to power. I'd like to see a story about, the kind of Tin Man that we saw in Wicked for Good. I want to see that, like a pissed off Tin Man. I want to see that. Um, you know, and again, it makes sense, given the success of these movies. I think Universal would be. I think it makes sense for Universal to be like, yeah, let's do more. So, anyway, I just wanted to give my quick thoughts on that. Um, um, so jump in the comment section and let me know what you guys think about more stories in the Wicked universe. Is that something that you'd like to see? Maybe not. Jump in the comment section and let me know. All right, so this next story uh, is kind of piques my interest a little bit. So, uh, for those who don't know, I want to make sure I get my information correct on this. Well, it doesn't really say. So, for those who don't know, I forget when exactly, but it was a while. It was a while back. It was announced that there was going to be a film adaptation of the video game Helldivers, and that is and I think I speak for everyone when and again, there is a long, sad history of video game to film adaptations. However, as I've always said, well, as I've said for a while now, there have been exceptions to that rule. The Sonic the Hedgehog movies. That animated Super Mario Brothers movie was pretty damn good. It wasn't great, but it was all right. It was, I was wildly entertained by that. And, we have Taylor Sheridan doing the Call of Duty movie, which I think is going to be insane. But, so the Helldivers movie was announced. And now, a director for that movie the director has been revealed, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm actually very excited for this. This article is on CBR, published by Jamie Lovett. The Helldivers movie just took a huge leap forward. The Hollywood Reporter reports that Justin Lin, the director of Star Trek Beyond and several films in the Fast and Furious franchise, has signed on to direct the adaptation of the hit sci-fi video game series developed by Arrowhead Game Studios. The film is a production of Sony Pictures and PlayStation Productions. Okay, so the only reservation I have about this. So the screenplay is being written by Gary Dauberman. And this guy, Gary Dauberman, wrote the first Annabelle movie, which I hated. I loathed it. However, he also wrote the recent, I believe he at least wrote the first of the more recent It movies. The one from, I think, yeah. I don't know if he wrote part 2, It Chapter 2, but I know he wrote the first one, and that movie's fucking awesome. So, I have some reservations about the quality of the writing of this movie. Justin Lin directing this movie. So, okay, for those who don't know, and this article does mention it, Justin Lin directed several movies in the Fast and Furious franchise, and by several movies, Justin Lin has nearly directed all of them. Justin Lin, I think his first Fast and Furious movie was Tokyo Drift, and he has directed everyone since then, except for Fast 10 or Fast X or whatever the hell you want to call it. I still haven't seen it. But yeah, so Justin Lin directed every Fast and Furious movie since Tokyo Drift, except for Fast X. I think, now, I will say, those Fast and Furious movies that specifically that Justin Lin directed, there are two things that made the Fast and Furious franchise better than it ever had any right. You know, I'm struggling with my words today. I'm sorry. So the Fast and Furious movies, they got better once two people got involved. One is Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. The best Fast and Furious movies are the ones that have him in it. And two was director Justin Lin. Once Justin Lin came aboard, now Tokyo Drift has its issues, but I like it. And but Justin Lin coming on to direct basically most of that franchise. I don't think the Fast and Furious franchise would be as successful as it has been without him. I'll just say that. Now, Justin Lin, as this article points out, also directed Star Trek Beyond, which was the third Star Trek movie in the Kelvin timeline with Chris Pine and Zachary Quinto and Carl Urban. And that movie is awesome. Star Trek Beyond is of the three of those Star Trek movies. Star Trek Beyond, I think, is the second best one. It's great. It's great. So, given that, um, Helldivers is kind of this action space opera video game. I think that Justin Lin is the perfect guy to do this. The Fast Five, which is the one that has that fantastic, that awesome bank heist sequence where the two cars are towing the bank vault at the end of the movie. That's just ridiculous. I mean, it's awesome. It's awesome. That sequence is just permanently etched into my brain. So I think Justin Lin is the perfect guy for this. I think he'll do a good job. And it'll be nice to see him tackle something that's not in a currently established franchise. And I'm looking forward to this. I think Justin Lin is going to do a great job with this. So jump in the comment section and let me know what you guys think about Justin Lin directing a Helldivers movie. All right. So this next bit of news, it's a couple of casting. I can't even speak today. Angelina Jolie is going to be in this new movie, and there's been some casting updates with that movie. So let me just get to this first. So there's this article on Deadline published by Matt Grobar. And this article says that Academy Award winner Angelina Jolie has commenced production on Sony, a dark thriller that Ava Sorhaug is directing for Gramercy Park Media, A Higher Standard, and Nickel City Pictures. This article goes on to say, in the spirit of classic mafia films, Sony follows a female gangster who fights to protect her sons and herself from an abusive drug kingpin. But when a devastating event occurs, she only has a matter of hours to plot their permanent escape. This sounds awesome. And I think Angelina Jolie is a great actress. She's one of my favorite actresses. And it's always great to see her. I know that she hasn't been in much lately, which is, I wish we would see more of her. I remember Katie and I went to go see the second Maleficent movie, Mistress of Evil. And we went to go see it just because, we at that point, we didn't care what... The word of mouth for that movie wasn't very good. But I'm such a big Angelina Jolie fan. I don't care. At that point, Angelina Jolie hadn't been in much at all. And I was like, I'm seeing this movie. I don't care what the word of mouth says, what the reviews say. I'm seeing this movie. And Katie was like, all right, let's go. Because I'm such a huge fan of her. But my point is, it's always great to see her in anything. And this, I also think that it's great that we're getting a more... She's playing this strong female character, this female gangster who fights to protect her sons. and has to plot their escape. I love that, and it sounds again like one of those classical mafia stories, right? There are some stories in there are some classical story tropes that have been told over and over again, but there's a reason why, and it's because it's because those tropes work, you know. And so yeah, I think it now it does say that Angelina Jolie is going to star in and produce this movie. So so that's good. So she's going to have uh, more of a she's going to have more creative input behind the scenes as well. So I think that's great. I think that's great. And again, it's always great to see her do anything, and her doing this mafia thing, a female gangster. That's awesome. Now, there's been more casting news regarding that. So this article is on Deadline, published also published by Matt Grobar. Charlie Plummer from The Long Walk will star alongside Angelina Jolie, but there's no no word on who he's playing. Now, I have not. I sadly did not see The Long Walk. I heard it's amazing. Like, it's one of the best Stephen King book to film adaptations. Sadly, I did not see it, but I want to. But and so I can't say that I'm too familiar with Charlie Plummer. However, him being in a movie with Angelina Jolie, especially if this movie is good, but just being in a movie with Angelina Jolie will elevate your status as an actor. And I think yeah, I think this sounds great. Character details are being kept under wraps about who he's playing. Maybe he's playing one of her sons. I don't know. But yeah, this again, and Charlie Plummer being in a movie with Angelina Jolie, he's gonna gain he's gonna get more attention, and elevate his status, like I said. So this sounds great to me. Again, a classic mafia story with a strong female character, especially one that's played by Angelina Jolie. Yeah, sign me up. Absolutely. Hell yeah. I'm down for that. So jump in the comment section and let me know your thoughts about that. All right. So moving on here. So you might know from previous episodes that one of the movies that it seems like with every casting announcement, I personally am getting more and more excited for, is this the Sam Mendes Beatles biopic, this 4-film cinematic event. I went from yeah, that's on my radar to like, holy crap, I want to see this movie right now. Like, just because of the cast, the characters, Sam Mendes directing, who I love. I just want to see this movie now. And So speaking of casting, um, there there has been more casting news um, regarding this 4-film Beatles cinematic event. This article is on Deadline, published by Matt Grobar. And this article says Sam Mendes has added 8 to the cast of The Beatles, a 4-film cinematic event. So David Morrissey from The Walking Dead, Leanne Best, James Norton from Happy Valley, Harry Lloyd from The Theory of Everything, Bobby Schofield from The Covenant, Daniel Hoffman Gill, Arthur Darvill, and Adam Pally. Now, David Morrissey will play Paul McCartney's father, Jim McCartney, and Leanne Best will play John Lennon's Aunt Mimi. James Norton will play Brian Epstein. Harry Lloyd will play the music producer George Martin. Bobby Schofield will play the Beatles' road manager Neil Aspinall. Daniel Hoffman Gill will play Mal Evans, who was one of the Beatles' roadies, I think. Arthur Darvill will play a press officer. Will play press officer Derek Taylor, and Adam Pally will play music manager Alan Klein. I cannot even tell you, in terms of the characters and the real life people that are going to be in these movies, this is getting to be even more of a deep dive than I thought it was. Like, this is going to be an even more detailed story of how the Beatles came together than I thought it was going to be. They are Sam Mendes and the writers, the other filmmakers involved. They are really taking deep dives and going all in to tell the best story that they can tell about how the Beatles came together and formed the Beatles. Other family members, like, and roadies and all this, this sounds great. Neil Aspinall, the road manager. This is, I think we could be looking at one of the best movies of the year when this comes out. I don't know. I may be getting ahead of myself, but they're really, again, this really sounds like Sam Mendes. This is a story that he really wants to tell, and tell the best story that he can put. That this sounds like this is going to be, again, a very detailed story about how the Beatles came together. This is great. This is great. I cannot wait for this movie. Again, my only concern, I love Sam Mendes as a director, and I love the cast. You have Barry Keoghan, who's going to play Ringo Starr. I mean, that's awesome. Again, my only concern, and I said this when it was announced that when this movie was first announced, my only concern is, are people going to show up to these movies? I will, but I don't know if anybody else will. But this sounds great. This this sounds so great. So you know, a lot of minor but important in casting news with this. Um, I I would you know I'm a big behind the scenes kind of like I love watching making of special features and documentaries about how movies were made. I hope they release like a 4-part documentary about the making of these movies. I would love to watch it. Like I would love to meet the guy who's like taking behind the scenes photos and videos on these films. Um, this sounds wonderful. This sounds great. So jump in the comment section. I know this is a lot of minor but also important casting news, I think. So jump in the comment section and let me know your thoughts. So yeah. So I wanted to move on and talk about something that was very very sad, at least for in my mind it was very sad. I don't know if so back on December 4th. So there's an actor by the name of Hiroyuki Tagawa. He was in the Man in the High Castle television series. His first film role was in Bernardo Bertolucci's The Last Emperor, which won 9 Academy Awards, I think. And he, so and most famously, he played he played Shang Tsung in the Mortal Kombat movies. Your soul is mine. Just and back on December 4th, he died at the age of 75. He was also in he was in the 2001 Planet of the Apes. He was in Memoirs of a Geisha. What else? What else was he in? I mean, he did a lot of film. He did a lot of film and television roles. He was in what I think is a very underappreciated. I'm a huge James Bond fan, and Hiroyuki Tagawa was in the second Timothy Dalton James Bond movie, which is titled License to Kill, which I think is an incredibly underappreciated James Bond movie. I love it, and he's in that movie. But I just wanted to talk about Hiroyuki Tagawa for a little bit, and again, as a kid, seeing the first Mortal Kombat movie and, your soul is mine, just that it's iconic, I mean, it's cheesy, but it's great. And he was a wonderful, I mean, he never, even in those Mortal Kombat movies, he never phoned it in. I mean, he gave it his all, and I was sad to hear of his death. But like I said, he was in The Last Emperor. He was in the James Bond movie License to Kill. I mean, he did a lot of film and television. And so I just wanted to say a few words about Hiroyuki Tagawa. And you know, uh, maybe I'll watch Mortal Kombat. I love that first Mortal Kombat movie. It's just one of those like bad good movies. Like it's so bad, but you can't help. It's cheesy and it's not that good, but it's great. The second one's terrible. And Mortal Kombat Annihilation is terrible, but the first one is pretty good. Anyway, so I just wanted to say a few words about Hiroyuki Tagawa, and you know, Mortal Kombat fans will miss him, and I will miss him. So I just wanted to say a few words. Moving on to something more pleasant, and this piece of news is I'm cautiously optimistic about. So, I wouldn't say it's one of my favorite film franchises, but it's a franchise that I enjoy. Is Men in Black? I like everyone else. I love the first Men in Black movie, and that a lot of people forget the first Men in Black movie came out at a time when comic book movies weren't really a thing. And that movie's great. The original Men in Black movie with Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones, and it was directed by Barry Sonnenfeld, produced by Steven Spielberg, is a classic. I love it, and it holds a special place in my heart because I was my best friend at the time took me to see it for my birthday, for my 14th birthday, and there's that. It's great. It's a classic. I love the first Men in Black movie. Men in Black 2 is terrible. It's terrible. It has to be one of the worst, in my mind, it's one of the worst sequels ever made. It's awful. None of the comedy hits. None of the comedy works. None of the action works. It's just awful. But it was financially successful. So they did so there was a third Men in Black movie. And I really liked. I thought Men in Black 3 was really, really good. It was really, really good. And I was cautiously optimistic about it because I hated the second one so much. But I really enjoyed Men in Black 3. And Josh Brolin playing a younger version of Kay, the Tommy Lee Jones character, that was fantastic. He crushed it. And then Bill Hader as Andy Warhol. That was fantastic. But I really enjoyed Men in Black 3. And then came Men in Black International with Chris Hemsworth and Tessa Thompson. I cannot emphasize how much I despise that movie. I loathed it. I hated it so much. The Tessa Thompson character in Men in Black International, if you look up the definition of what a Mary Sue is, that's Tessa Thompson's character in Men in Black International. And It, I think, I think, hold on. I just want to get my information correct. Um, Men in Black International was a huge financial disaster too. I mean, it flopped really, really hard. And I think there were lots of factors that went into it. Probably one, the first and foremost, was the word of mouth about it. And it's terrible. So the Men in Black franchise, at least for me, is pretty hit and miss. I mean, but I will always love the first one. That movie, I could, you know, uh, I just love it so much. Well, there is news regarding the Men in Black film franchise. uh, this article is on The Hollywood Reporter, published by Ryan Gajewski. And this article says Sony is hoping to extend its Men in Black franchise with a script worth remembering. I'm not even lying. That's what it says. With a script worth remembering. Chris Bremner has been hired to pen the screenplay for a new feature in the sci-fi series, The Hollywood Reporter has confirmed. The studio has yet to attach a director or any cast members. Let me see here. So, this is what's interesting to me is that Chris Bremner, who was going to write the screenplay for this new Men in Black movie, his writing credits include the two most recent Bad Boys movies. So he has experience writing for Will Smith. Like it and what I mean by that is he has experience, like if he knows that Will Smith, and I'm not saying Will Smith is going to be in this movie, but he has experience writing for certain actors, right? So he wrote the two most recent Bad Boys movies. There was Bad Boys for Life and Bad Boys Ride or Die. Is that the is that the order that they came in? Yeah, Bad Boys for Life and Bad Boys Ride or Die. I haven't seen Bad Boys Ride or Die. Bad Boys for Life is easily the best of. And again, I say this as someone who hasn't seen Bad Boys Ride or Die, but Bad Boys for Life, as far as the first three Bad Boys movies are concerned, Bad Boys for Life is easily the best one. It's really, really good. It's really my I had a friend, Hannah Sutter. We went to go see that. We went to go see Bad Boys for Life, and we were like, that was really good. That was yeah. And but again, it's 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 easily the best of the franchise. I thought it was really good, but I haven't seen Bad Boys Ride or Die. But anyway, so I'm not saying that Will Smith is going to be in this new Men in Black movie. Maybe he should. Um, it would be cool to see um, Will Smith, the character of Jay. It would be interesting to see him play the older. At the end of the first Men in Black movie, you know, Kay says to Jay, I haven't been training a partner, I've been training a replacement. And maybe we could see Will Smith do the same thing if he's in this new Men in Black movie. I don't know. I don't think that Tommy Lee Jones is going to be in it. But I don't know if Will Smith's going to be in it either. All I know is there's a new Men in Black movie coming, and it's being written by the guy who wrote the last two Bad Boys movies. What is the Bad Boys Ride or Die? Okay. So that one got good reviews. Anyway, I think, especially given the quality of Bad Boys for Life, I think this is a good idea. You have a writer coming in. You have a writer coming in who damn near saved or salvaged a franchise that he wasn't attached to in the first. Like Bad Boys and Bad Boys 2 are entertaining. They're fun. But they're not very good. They're not very well written. But they're entertaining, and that's, I think, what was so great about Bad Boys for Life was that it was very well written, and that attributed to the quality of the film. In addition to the directing and the acting, but the writing for Bad Boys for Life was like, whoa, this is pretty heavy. So I think the writing, at least the writing for this new Men in Black movie, could rescue the Men in Black franchise. It could. Again, there's no directing, no director yet attached. There's no word on who is going to star in this movie. I think I think I don't know. The first Men in Black movie will always have a special place in my heart. But I think after the complete and utter disaster that Men in Black International was, I think having a quality writer come aboard is a good thing. Because I think if you're going to do another Men in Black movie, you need a writer who has established success, who has had success in the past. And I hope it's good, because I don't know if we get another bad Men in Black movie, I think the franchise is dead. I really do. I mean, when you have, at least in my opinion, when you have a film franchise that's, 1 and 3 are good, and the other, when you're doing 50-50, you kind of this needs to if you're going to do another one, you need to hit it out of the park. You really do, and I think this writer is a good starting point. So anyway, I am extremely cautiously optimistic about this. But I think why I'm looking, I think because I personally, I'm not going to speak for anybody else, because I have such a personal fondness for the original Men in Black film. This piques my interest. Who knows? There may be people out there who don't care about a Men in Black 5. And I wouldn't blame you, you know? But because I have such a personal fondness for the original film, this piques my interest. I hope it's good. God, I hope it's good. Because if it's not, it's dead, I think. But anyway, I know I kind of went off on that a little bit. So jump in the comment section and let me know your thoughts on a new Men in Black movie being in the works. Let me see here. Okay. What was I going to do? Oh, yes. Hold on just a second. I need to rearrange some things. Hold on. Okay. So this is interesting. This next bit of news. So, roughly 3 years ago. And I cannot believe these words are going to come out of my mouth. Roughly 3 years ago, a spinoff to Ferris Bueller's Day Off was announced. And it was going to be called Victor and Sam's Day Off. Now, who are Victor and Sam, you might say? Well, Victor and Sam are the two parking garage attendants who took Cameron's dad's car for a joyride in Ferris Bueller's Day Off. You wouldn't know that that's their names if you didn't pay attention to the credits. But that whole sequence where the parking garage attendants took Cameron's dad's car for a joyride, that's Victor and Sam. That's their names. And there was going to be a spin-off about those two guys. And again, this was announced 3 years ago. And it's been a while since there's been any news about it. Now, I personally thought a Ferris Bueller's Day Off spin-off, I just thought was a bad idea in the first place. Like, why do you have to touch that? Like, that's hallowed ground, you know? Why do you... And second of all, if you're going to do a spin-off about the two guys who took that car for a joyride, isn't it about oh, I don't know, 30 years too late. You know, like if you were going to do that movie, they should have done that movie a year and a half, 2 years after Ferris Bueller's Day Off came out, because that makes sense. So I say all that because so there's a new regime at Paramount Pictures, which of course is the studio that distributed Ferris Bueller's Day Off. And there's a new regime over there, and they're reshaping the studio, and there's executive shakeups, and you know what else? Who knows what else? Um, so it turns out that there's a reason why we haven't heard anything about this Ferris Bueller's Day Off spinoff. This article is on Joe Blow, published by Kevin Fraser. uh, this article says, "The what? You're forgiven if you forgot this was supposed to be a thing." It's been over 3 years since it was first announced that Cobra Kai creators John Hurwitz, Hayden Schlossberg, and Josh Held were developing a spin-off of Ferris Bueller's Day Off for Paramount Pictures. David Katzenberg from the Goldbergs was set to direct the feature, but it's been a while since we last heard anything about it. Now we know why. It turns out that the project has been scrapped. This article does go on to say the spinoff was set to follow the same-day adventures of the titular valets who took the Ferrari on a joyride in the 1986 John Hughes movie. The original roles were played by Richard Edson and Larry Flash Jenkins, but the characters weren't given names at the time. Oh, that's also why you're just like, who are these Josh and Sam? Oh, they weren't given names. Beyond one short scene of the pair rocketing down the road, we don't know much about what Victor and Sam got up to, and now it appears we never will. Okay. I think I speak for every and any Ferris Bueller's Day Off fan when I say thank Odin. Thank Odin that this is never going to happen. Like, again, if you're going to do a movie about the adventures of these guys that take place on the same day that Ferris Bueller's Day Off takes place at, you should have done that movie a year and a half, 2 years after Ferris Bueller's Day Off came out. Like, why didn't you do that? Why wait 30 fucking years to even think about doing this movie? This is just a bad fucking idea. And you know, I don't think anybody would turn up to see this movie. This movie would have failed miserably on every level, I think. But I've been wrong before. But this was just a bad idea from the get-go. I'm so glad I'm so glad that, you know, in the studio shakeup that over there at Paramount, I'm glad they went, oh, this Josh and Sam's Day Off, this is a bad idea. Let's not. I'm glad this is never going to happen. Personally, but maybe there are some people who feel differently. I don't know. So jump in the comment section and let me know what you guys think about Josh and Sam's Day Off. I need to look up something very quickly first before I continue. Hold on, please. Okay. Okay. Um, okay, so a couple more bits of news here. So for those, so I, one of, if I can get my words out today, ever, I have never read the Hunger Games books, but I love the films. Well, except for Mockingjay Part 2. I didn't love that one. It was fine. It was okay. But I love all the other ones. Catching Fire is my favorite one. Now, I haven't seen the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. Is that it? I haven't seen that one. So, but I love all. I love the original, and I loved Catching Fire, and I loved Mockingjay Part 1. Mockingjay Part 1. Catching Fire is my favorite one. I that movie was awesome. Now, there's the new book, The Hunger Games: Sunrise on the Reaping, that is getting the film adaptation, and it's coming. I think it's coming this year. Let me check. Um, um, yeah, it's coming in November of this year. The Hunger Games: Sunrise on the Reaping, and I don't know if any of you have seen the trailer, but it looks good. It looks interesting. And Ray Fiennes playing a younger version of President Snow. That looks fantastic. He looks great, but it looks interesting. It looks like I'm down for it. So it may or may not. And again, look, I will preface this by saying I have not read the book. I have not read any of the Hunger Games books. So I read this article, and it came as a bit of a surprise to me, personally. Um, this article is on CBR, published by Sam Fang. Um, this article says the Hunger Games fans will be able to get a new look at Katniss and Peeta when Sunrise on the Reaping hits theaters in 2026. Jennifer Lawrence and Josh Hutcherson have been confirmed to reprise their roles in the upcoming installment. Per The Hollywood Reporter, it has been confirmed that both actors will appear in the new prequel movie, which is scheduled for release by Lionsgate on November 20th, 2026. It is likely that the two will appear in a flash-forward scene, but confirmation of their exact roles has not been disclosed at this time. Okay, so I remember texting Katie and being like, hey, Jennifer Lawrence and Josh Hutcherson are coming back for Sunrise on the Reaping. And she was like, how? And I was like, that's a good question. How? And I guess, and again, I know nothing about the book, but apparently there's a scene at the end of the book that features Katniss and Peeta. Can you guys confirm that? I don't know. It's kind of a flash forward sequence with Katniss and Peeta, and I'm like, oh, that's how they're coming back. Okay, that sounds cool. And I love this for two reasons. I love it because, creatively speaking, it serves as a bridge between the Hunger Games prequel movies and the original Hunger Games film, and I love that. And I also love um, that I love it because um, and I say this respectfully for respectfully uh, in regards to Josh Hutcherson. Um, but Jennifer Lawrence has always been one of my favorite actresses, and her uh, her star rose incredibly quickly, and she uh, it rose very high and very fast. And one of those reasons is because of X-Men First Class, which I loved, and the other is um, the Hunger Games. And again, I say and I do love the couple of Katniss and Peeta. I love them together, those characters together, and and those two, Jennifer Lawrence and Josh Hutcherson, have great chemistry together. But I struggle with this because I'm not I could be uh, completely off base, but it seems to me that Josh Hutcherson has, since the Hunger Games, has struggled to get work, and Jennifer Lawrence hasn't, and I don't know why that is. I know that Josh Hutcherson has been in the Five Nights at Freddy's movies, but again, I don't know why that is. But Jennifer Lawrence, and again, I love that Jennifer Lawrence and Josh Hutcherson are coming back to the roles that, and again, respectfully, with in regards to Josh Hutcherson, Jennifer Lawrence returning to one of the roles that put her on the map, and made everybody love her. And it's going to be great to see the two of them together and kind of, again, bridge that gap between the prequel stories and the original Hunger Games story. I love this. I love it. And the movie looks very interesting. And I hope the one thing that I hope and I the one thing that I hope is that if once people know about this, that Katniss and Peeta are going to be in it. And it's not like they're going to be in like half the movie. They're probably going to be in a very brief flash forward sequence. I hope that sequence doesn't take away from the rest of the movie. I also hope that the movie's good, because I've heard that the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes wasn't very good. But I hope that their sequence together, Katniss and Peeta's sequence together, I hope that doesn't take away from the rest of the movie. I hope that people don't show up just to see the two of them together. You know what I mean? But it's great that they're coming back. It's great that they're coming back. And, who knows? I as a fan, this is something that I never thought I would see. I don't know. I mean, it makes sense, I guess, because it's in the book. But I never thought that we'd see Jennifer Lawrence return to the role of Katniss. You know, like her story was done. You know, but it makes sense. But this is great. This is awesome, and it's just I hope the movie's good. It's going to be directed by Francis Lawrence. I believe it's going to be directed by Francis Lawrence. I don't want to misspeak. Uh, hold on. Hold on. Yes, it is. Francis Lawrence is going to direct this movie, which is great news because he directed. I know he directed Catching Fire, which I loved. He also did this movie called Red Sparrow with Jennifer Lawrence, which is pretty intense. But anyway, so this is unexpected. This is good news. You know, I'm just glad that they're coming back. I'm more happy about Jennifer Lawrence coming back because, you know, she's one of my favorite actresses, and it'll be great to see them both back together. So anyway, jump in the comment section and let me know your thoughts about this. Okay. One more bit of news here, and this could cause an uproar. And I don't know how I mean I think I know how I feel about it, but I'm not sure. So there's this new Lord of the Rings movie coming, and it's going to be called The Hunt for Gollum, and it's going to take place in between. It's going to take place in that time period when Gandalf leaves the Shire. You know, and there's that sequence where he's, I looked everywhere for the creature Gollum, but the enemy found him first. You know, and it's in that time period where Gandalf leaves Frodo, and then he goes away, and then he comes back. In the book, it's something like 17 years. But in the book, he and Aragorn look for Gollum. And there's going to be this new Hunt for Gollum movie is going to be the story of Gandalf and Aragorn looking for Gollum. And it's going to be directed by Andy Serkis, who plays Gollum. And this bit of news might cause a stir with fans of the films. So this article is on CBR, published by Jamie Lovett. It seems the king will not be returning to Middle-earth after all. The Lord of the Rings, The Hunt for Gollum, is the next live-action film set to adapt stories from J.R.R. Tolkien's Legendarium, and though Aragorn is expected to play a big role in its story, it won't be played by the Lord of the Rings trilogy star Viggo Mortensen, according to a new report. The story from Night Edge Media reports that the Lord of the Rings The Hunt for Gollum director Andy Serkis, who will also star as Gollum, reprising his own Lord of the Rings role, has already met with some younger actors in contention. The names of those actors remain unknown. Mortensen has previously expressed openness to returning to the role of Aragorn. However, that would come with certain challenges. I agree. It would. For this article does go on and point out those challenges. For Mortensen to pass as Aragorn as he appeared 25 years ago would have required the persistent use of de-aging technology throughout the film. Such technology has become relatively common in big-budget productions in recent years. However, it is still typically only deployed for flashbacks and other special cases, and not for the entirety of a movie with some exceptions, and likely doesn't seem cheap. Recasting seems like the more practical method of dealing with the situation. So yes. Now, this I understand. I'm just going to look up something really quick. Okay. This I know is going to is going to make a lot of Lord of the Rings film fans go, "Oh, yeah, no, I don't like that." And I get it. I completely understand. Viggo Mortensen as Aragorn was perfect. That whole cast was perfect. But as this article points out, recasting for someone younger is the more practical option. And I know people aren't going to like that, but it's the truth. People aren't going to like that I'm saying that, but it's the truth. Instead of spending ungodly amounts of money with de-aging technology for a whole movie, which is probably going to be 3 hours, it's more practical and more cost efficient to get a younger actor. Now, for those who don't know, Viggo Mortensen was not the original choice for Aragorn. Viggo Mortensen was he was cast as at the last minute. There's an actor by the name of Stuart Townsend, who was originally cast as Aragorn. And he had Stuart Townsend, he was hired, and he spent 2 months preparing for the role. And he even filmed some rehearsals. But he was let go just before they started filming because Peter Jackson and the other filmmakers realized that Stuart Townsend looked too young. And Viggo Mortensen was cast at the last minute. And the reason I bring all this up, and by the way, Stuart Townsend went on, his career didn't really pan out. He was in the movie, this movie called The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen with Sean Connery, which ended up being Sean Connery's final film. I like that movie. Not very much, but I like it. And Stuart Townsend played Dorian Gray in in that movie. And by the way, Stuart Townsend is very, very good in that movie. There's that great action sequence in the library where Dorian Gray, played by Stuart Townsend, is being he's literally standing in front of somebody who is gunning him down, and he's just standing there and he's absorbing all these bullets. And then the gunman just stands there like, what he's like, oh my god, because he's still alive, and he's like, Dorian Gray is still alive, and the guy's like, what the hell are you? And Dorian Gray takes out a sword and impales the guy, and he's like, I'm complicated. And I'm like, that's a great fucking line. But anyway, so Stuart Townsend was in that movie, and then his career fell off the deep end. Now, the reason I bring all this up, maybe, just maybe, they could cast Stuart Townsend as a younger, as Aragorn. Maybe. He certainly looks like, if you put him in a side-by-side picture of Viggo Mortensen, like as Aragorn. Like if you look at a picture of I almost said Dorian Gray. If you look at a picture of Stuart Townsend and you put him next to a picture of Viggo Mortensen dressed as Aragorn with the long hair and the costume and everything, they look similar. They really do. So maybe, just maybe, that would be kind of cool. As kind of like that would be kind of a very inside baseball kind of thing for Lord of the Rings fans. Like, oh, I see what you did there. Stuart Townsend as Aragorn. That would be kind of cool. It's going to be, and again, look, I get it. If you are someone who is like, nope, count me out of this one now. If you are someone who this completely turns you off to this movie, I'm not going to argue with you, and I'm not going to blame you. But at least in my mind, everything that this article says is correct. Instead of investing an enormous amount of money into de-aging technology to make Viggo Mortensen look the way he looked back in 2001, the more practical and more cost-efficient option is to cast somebody younger. That's the truth. I know people don't like it, but that's the truth. It's going to be hard to do. It's going to be hard to picture that, though. But maybe they cast her. Maybe. I don't know. We will see. And again, Stuart Townsend looked too young to play Aragorn, and I think age-wise and looks-wise, Viggo Mortensen was the perfect choice. But maybe they get Stuart Townsend back. I don't know. Again, it's one of those things. I know that it's going to be difficult for fans to wrap their heads around and things like that. I hope this movie is good. I want this to be the best movie it can possibly be. And if that means recasting Aragorn instead of investing in de-aging technology for a 3-hour movie, then you do that. I know it's difficult. It's difficult to do and difficult to accept. I just want this movie to be good. And maybe they'll have like with Sunrise on the Reaping, maybe they'll have a flash forward sequence in The Hunt for Gollum where you see Viggo Mortensen back as Aragorn. I don't know. I hope it's good. Either way. But I know that this is going to cause an uproar. Um, and again, I can't say that, you know, I know that, but as somebody who has briefly worked in the film industry and made a couple um, amateur films myself, this is the better way to go. It really is. But anyway, I know I would ask what you guys think about this, but I can already uh, I can guarantee I probably can guess what the response about this is going to be. But I would love to hear your thoughts about it. You know, do you think I'm crazy? Do you think, whatever? I don't know. I just hope the movie is good. So anyway, jump in the comment section and let me know your thoughts about that. So that'll do it for this episode. I may be on a little later. I don't know. I wanted to get at least one done because I know it's been 2 weeks since my last episode, and I do apologize for that again. Again, sometimes when life hits you, it hits you hard. And but anyway, but I'm glad to be back. So I do know. Oh, by the way, you guys, go see Marty Supreme. It's with Timothy Chalamet. It's great. It's great. It's gonna make my top 5 of the year. It really is. Katie and I are going to go see Avatar: Fire and Ash on Saturday night, I think. Probably, possibly. We're definitely going to see it. It's just a matter of when. But yeah, so go see Marty Supreme. It's fantastic. Timothy Chalamet will get an Oscar nomination. I guarantee you that. But anyway. So yeah. So I hope you guys enjoyed the show today. I might be on a little later. I don't know. We'll see. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. And I definitely will be on, if not later today, I definitely will be on next week. So there's that. So as always, I hope this show provided. I look, and I don't want to get too into it here, but this past weekend, in so many ways, was shitty. So my job, part of my job in doing this show is to provide a break for people who just need a break from the real world. And I hope that I do that with this show. Yeah. I hope everyone's okay. I hope you're doing well. Stay safe. And I hope you guys had a good New Year. Looking forward to some new movies. That 28 years later, the Bone Temple looks insane. It looks so good. I loved 28 years later. And I'm ecstatic for this new one. It looks so good. But anyway, like I said, part of the reason I do the show is to provide a break for those who need it. And I hope that I've done that. But anyway, so hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. And as always, I will see you at the movies.